Hey everyone, it's Rabbi Shmuel Pollan. We're going to talk today about communism versus capitalism versus Judaism. And here we go. There was a topic opened up on Quorum.com, which is a great website to discuss many intellectual issues. And the topic came up of capitalism versus communism. Now let's just summarize in very short form what these actually are. Capitalism is giving power to the people because you're allowing there to be a free market, and if the rich become rich and the poor become poor, so be it. What happens is in a broken country, like all of the countries are today, because we are not in paradise, we're not in the Messianic era. So in a broken world, the rich will wind up exploiting the poor. So that's where communism comes in and says, no, let's give more power to the government, and the government will divide the money equally. And then, unfortunately, because we're in a broken world, the government will wind up exploiting the people directly. The government will exploit the people instead of the rich people exploiting the people. And that's why, let's just read from one poster's post here. He says, that's why you can find examples of communism being called by Donald Trump Burkina Faso an asshole African country. And while that was extremely racist of him to do so, he's getting the right idea. Burkina Faso used to be a socialist country, and during that 3-year period, 2 million children were vaccinated, school attendance was tripled, 10 million trees were planted, and women were not subject to forced marriages. All that obviously went away once he was ousted from power during a 1987 coup. Now Burkina Faso isn't any different from neighboring countries in terms of economic development, so it's very lacking in economic development. Trump couldn't have called that an asshole if the communists had been able to develop the country for a longer period of time. So communists, meaning the government being in control, can do a lot of good. So what's actually going on here? Because we can say capitalism is a lot better because in Cuba, it was terrible conditions, and Stalin killed millions, and Mao killed millions. So those were communist countries. So how come in that communist country they killed millions, and in Burkina Faso they actually had a great economic growth and wealth, and everyone had improvement in their quality of life? So people struggle with this contradiction. Is capitalism better? Is communism better? Is capitalism better? Is communism better? Each one giving proofs to their own side. But the problem is, it's not about the system. It's not about whether government's in control or people are in control. The problem is whether the leaders want to do good or not. That's the missing link. That's the link that nobody's focusing on and everybody needs to be focusing on, is the goodness of the leader. Because if the leaders are good and it's rich people, they will not exploit the poor. If the government is good, it will not exploit everyone like has happened, or kill everyone like has happened. That is not because of communism or capitalism. That is because the people in charge do not have a moral fiber. They do not have a moral compass. They have no goodness in them. That's why when these videos go viral and everybody's embracing goodness as their highest priority, then we can have a world that's like a paradise because we're all doing good. So the rich people will not exploit the poor, and the government will not exploit the poor, and the government will not kill millions and millions of people because they are good people. And we should be looking for that in our leaders. We should be looking for leaders that have a religion and they are committed to it. And we see that over decades, and their family is committed to it, and their father was committed to it, and his father was committed to it. We see that there's no corruption in that family. We see that they're squeaky clean, and they don't have any like wiretaps going on other people, and funneling money from the Federal Reserve, without everybody noticing, or any corruption trying to influence elections, or anything, this foul play that goes on. We should see in these people that they don't have any of that in their past. We should see from these people that they have a squeaky clean record when it comes to morality. And morality is defined by the Bible. You need the Bible to do this because the Bible makes morality eternal. If it's just humanist and I'm just deciding what is good and what is not good based on my logic, or even based on the animals, looking at what the animals do, and drawing decisions from that, it is not eternal. You cannot go to Mao or Stalin or Vladimir Putin and say that I figured out that you should really not be invading Ukraine. I figured out that you should really not be hurting people and making their lives miserable. I figured that out. It doesn't work. You can't say that to a dictator. You have to come to them, like my mentor said, come to the Arabs, and don't say that we own the land of Israel because the UN said so, because the UN can change its mind. Say that we own the land of Israel because the Bible says so. The Bible actually has power. People believe in the Bible. Most people believe in the Bible. And if you quote the Bible to make your point, you are on firm footing and it's going to last forever. What we really need is good people in office, and we need term limits. And term limits are like almost impossible for us to get. Term limits is the idea that people cannot be a senator for more than 4 years. They cannot be a House of Representative member for more than 4 years. The president cannot be a president for more than 2 years. If you want to avoid exploitation, whether it's capitalist or communist, you want term limits because you want them to be stopped before they can do too much exploitation. Look how much exploitation Putin has done, and look how long he has been in office, and he keeps changing the rules and changing the rules to allow him to stay in office for another 5 years, another 5 years, and another 5 years. And look what happens. Nobody can stop him. Right now, nobody can take him out unless they assassinate him. Nobody can take him out because he is the rightful leader, because he makes the rules. He is the only one who makes the rules, and he has decided that there are no term limits for him whatsoever. Whereas in America, we have term limits. If we really don't like what Biden's doing, it's really terrible, we can vote him out in the next election and stop the exploitation. But the presidency should only last 1 year, and the Senate should only last 1 year. Everything should be 1 year, so we are much more on top of the exploitation of other people, because power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. That's Putin. But we still have corruption in American politics. It corrupts, and therefore we should always be kicking them out or making them face a vote, making them face the people. We want the power to go to the people. That means we want term limits. That means we want to be able to kick their butts out the moment that they become corrupt. We see capitalism also comes up with problems like Facebook exploiting people. They are taking away our privacy. They're stealing our identities. They are controlling our minds. They're deciding, what the youth see and what they do, and they're manipulating us with ads. And it's exploitation to the highest degree, coming from a capitalist society by a capitalist, by a wealthy person. So how do you deal with that? So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about Judaism's answer to all of this. But in another sense, we see a problem with capitalism, that people like Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk, I don't think he's a bad actor, but he certainly has a sway over the government. So that's a problem. If the government can't function normally because rich people are telling it what to do, that's the problem with capitalism. And if you wouldn't have that problem with communism because everybody would have the same amount of wealth, there wouldn't be rich people. But there has to be rich people, because what is the motivation for you to progress and do well in society if not the idea that you can become rich? You have to have that ability to become rich, or else you won't put in any effort to better your life. So that's the problem with communism. And what is Judaism's answer? So there's a couple elements to Judaism's answer. First of all, it doesn't choose capitalism or communism. It is a hybrid. It is going to take the best of both worlds, like we always talk about on this channel, taking the best of both worlds and minimizing what's bad from both worlds. It believes in all-powerful authority called the Sanhedrin. That's 70 men, maybe 71, but they hold a monarch. So the monarch is one person, so you can get a lot of stuff done. One person can do stuff because it doesn't have to get everything passed through Congress and Senate. If you want to make an infrastructure drive, to fix up the infrastructure, a monarch can actually do that on his own, but he is beholden to the Sanhedrin, and he will always be beholden to the Sanhedrin. They are a moral authority. They have to pass certain moral standards and moral tests to become part of the Sanhedrin, and they will they will make sure that the monarch does never become exploitative. Judaism is fine with their bringing poor people, with their being poor people and rich people. If everyone was the same, you'd not have anything to strive for, and there would be no kindness in this world. God actually likes it when there's rich people and poor people because something happens when that is in place, and that is that the rich people give to the poor people, and that creates kindness, and that's something that God really, really values and really, really wants. It's sort of like when an expert runner is with another runner and they're in the Olympics, and then the one stops for the other one because they fell, and then they hold their shoulder around them, and they make sure that they are going to make it to the end of the race, and they gave up their whole career just to help this person who fell, and they don't even know them. That's what God really appreciates. That's what God really likes. That's what God really wants. So everything depends on the goodness of the monarch, and the Sanhedrin makes sure that they are good. There are not just term limits. Not only can he be kicked out every year, he can be kicked out any second. Any second the Sanhedrin feels that he's changing Judaism or otherwise exploiting the people, they can take him out in a second. Now that's true accountability. That's going to make sure that nobody gets out of line and nobody exploits the people. There are rich people, there are poor people, but the poor people have to be taken care of. There must be a social safety net, and we believe in a social safety net because that's a good thing. We can't have people dying in the streets. Nobody should be dying in the streets. Nobody should be starving. Nobody should be left without a vaccination if everybody needs a vaccination. Everyone should have the basic needs met. And the way that you do that is you have a tithe. In Judaism, there is a tithe, 10% to 20% of your income. It's your choice. You can give 10% to 20%. According to some Hasidic masters, you can give even more than 20%. And I do give more than 20%. But this is the bare minimum. And the court can actually take you to court if you don't give the 10%. You absolutely have to give the 10%. So you have to give the tithe. That's the social safety net. It makes sure that everybody has what they need. And the Sanhedrin will make sure that everything is running properly. And in this way, no one starves. Everyone has a blanket, a roof over their head. And this system works very, very well. It worked in the times of King Solomon. It was one of the greatest economies that there ever was. And they used this system of Judaism. And since there's a monarch, you can get the most done in the shortest space of time, and there's the least opportunity for him to become exploitative because he can be kicked out in a second. He's always accountable. There are no term limits because he can be taken out any second. The general framework for morality is given from God to the Jewish people to give over to the non-Jewish people, and we have not been doing a very good job of giving it over, but now it's time to give it over, and that is the 7 Noahide laws. This is the perfect framework, and it has not just 7 laws but many offshoots to its laws that apply to every aspect of life, and this is biblical. This is all based on the Bible. Every single Noahide law has its source in the Bible, so you know that it's eternal and you know that it's moral. So I highly recommend that you discover your 7 Noahide laws at asknoah, asknoah.org, I believe. asknoah.org. Learn about your laws and the laws that should become applicable to the U.S. government and every government in the world. The U.S. government actually has officially recognized the 7 Noahide laws in an executive agreement, and I have the number of the agreement, the resolution, the congressional resolution, somewhere on a flyer in my house, but I don't have it with me right now. But I believe it was under Bush or Reagan that they recognized these 7 Noahide laws as being the framework for morality in this world. So learn about them, learn about their offshoots, go to their forum and ask questions, learn about what it takes to make a successful society and a successful economy that's good for everyone, absolutely everyone, that works for everyone. And in this way, we will be able to bring heaven down to earth and make this world into a paradise like it was always meant to be. God bless.